All right, guys, today I'm going to show you where I plan to install my Airlift Wireless 1 Airlift Ezmount system on the 23 Ford Superduty. So I've got two systems here. I got to put one on my other truck too. So I got the one out of the box, but you can see all of what's in this is the 25980 Ezmount kit. So you've got a U-bolt with some fasteners and a few different bolting configurations. If your frame is small enough, you can actually use a U-bolt. The Super Duty frame is big enough that unfortunately it won't work. And there's some specific instructions of orientation of how you can mount this on the frame. So you can mount it in this direction, forward or backwards, either way. And you can even, I think, do it this way, but you can't have the airlift facing downwards, or you can't have the electrical connection, I think, also facing downwards. There's some specific rules. It's all laid out in the instructions here if you kind of go through it. Inside the kit, you're gonna see a few different things. You're gonna see this is your tubing from the air compressor to your airbag setup. This is the wiring harness. They make it really nice. This is a really nice plug and play harness that plugs right into this. And then the rest of the other side of this kit would connect to your ignition source. I'm actually gonna wire this up to the factory aux cables. Then you've got another little line. This is where your air filter for the air comes in, and they give you some additional filter elements. You wanna make sure when you install this that you've got this in a location that's gonna be free from moisture and whatnot. So from what I was reading, some people would drill a hole someplace in the cab to make sure that it wouldn't get some moisture, or if you could do it some other location in the body where you wouldn't get any moisture. But it's really important this is in a location where there wouldn't allow any ingestion of water, because otherwise water is going to get into your air compressor and ruin it. So really important. So I'm kind of crawling underneath this thing. We've already got the airbags installed, as you can see right there. Now I'm going to try to figure out where I'm going to put this on the frame. This frame is actually pretty big. So if you go from here to here, it's wider than a U-bolt bracket. I've been looking all over this thing, trying to figure out where I can put it, where a good flat spot and meets the requirement of the air compressor where it won't get damaged. I kind of want to steer away from up here. I'm not saying I'm not going to, but with the harnesses from the factory on the frame, I'd prefer to not put them here, but this is a good flat spot to put it here. I'd also, if possible, like to put it a little farther away from the front wheels from kicking up debris. So that's another thing I've been trying to think, like, is there an under hood option? So I'm kind of leaning towards putting it right here. This looks like to be about the best flat spot. This is another potential spot, but I'm not sure I want to disconnect these fasteners on the frame, so I'm kind of leaning towards this. I looked on the other side. Let's see if I can ride along underneath here. Yep. This was another area I looked at. It's on the other side of it's like a transfer case brace. The problem is to mount it here, it'd be facing down. I'm sorry, it won't work on the airlift kit. It'll void the warranty and potentially mess up the compressor. Then I thought, what about inside the frame rails? There's not a lot of space. You want to keep it away from the exhaust because this whole area would be way too hot for the air compressor to be on. So you're pretty much forced to go on this side of the frame. I thought about putting it over here by the fuel pump, but I don't want it here either. If we continue down the frame, pretty much run out of real estate. There's no other real good spots. I mean, you could maybe do it up there. There's not a great flat spot there either. This is actually another good spot. There's actually a little bit more space on the passenger side, or sorry, on the driver's side. This would be another good spot to put it. You could possibly put it on this bracket, but that's kind of hanging down low. Not sure I'd want to do that either. Then I was thinking, I wonder if there's a way to put it behind the step. That'd be an interesting spot. For me personally, I don't like putting like an electronic component like an air compressor, onboard air, near the wheels just because more debris is going to spit up on it. So I'm going to try to figure out how to hide this thing somewhere. And I might not want to do it, but I might not have another choice other than do it a self-tapping screw. I'll throw some paint in the frame it's only two potential mounts. So it'd be like potentially like maybe right here, right there, and right here. And then just make sure that, no rust and whatnot. But I might be forced, unfortunately, to going to a self-tapping route. So let's see. Okay, looking under the hood, trying to find some spots where I could potentially mount the air compressor for the airlift kit. I'm just not really seeing a good spot underneath here too, where you could hide. Maybe right there in this spot right here. The problem is then you got to access your fuels panel. I don't think that's a good spot. Back there is too hot, firewall, nothing there. Not seeing any real good real estate down there. Thought about, what about in the truck? Maybe if you could hide it in here somewhere. This might be another potential option, considering too. Yeah, I'll have to give that some thought also. Okay, I wanted to kind of show you a little bit more about the 3 different mounting options. This is the easiest. If you can make this U-bolt mount work with your frame, you should do it. It's the easiest. The second would be a through bolt assembly, whether you have a hole in the frame where you can get to the other side. The third is a self-tapping screw. Unfortunately, this might have to be the route I have to go, but I did find a potential option here that might work. I was just looking at one of the holes from the factory, already came pre-drilled, and oh, unfortunately it's too big. Still might have to do that. Okay, I scoured all over the frame, all over this truck, looking at all the different options. From what I can tell, this is the best spot I'm going to place it. Unfortunately, none of the factory holes in the frame will work. I'm just gonna do a real quick self-tapping screw, get it out of the way, and this will be fine. I'll seal everything up, make sure there's no rust and whatnot. So it talks about the 3 different choices for mounting. One is hex cap bolt, one is a flat washer, and then the other is a self-tapping screw and U-bolts. And then it also kind of talks about in step 2, just the different orientations. This is really important because it talks about where you'd put it on the frame and the different orientations so you don't mess up the air compressor and the manifold. So, and then the other part you want to keep notice is this 10 amp fuse. It looks like you'd want to use 10 amp or smaller for connecting to your, like an upfitter switch. Oh, and then here, look at this, unacceptable orientations. See, can't go in this direction, can't be facing down. Very particular about being facing this sort of configuration. So I've kind of looked all across this frame, guys, and I'm kind of striking out as to where I want to install this thing. I really don't want to have to drill into the frame. I'm wondering if you've seen anybody with any U-bolt or brackets or whatnot. There's so much stuff crammed in here between the fuel tank, the def tank, fuel pumps. There's no space. Like, I even thought about putting it right up in there, but on the other side there's brackets for the frame. I'm just not seeing a good spot to run the U-bolt. Up here there's not a good flat area. Both sides of the frame, and here you got fuel lines. This will be actually a pretty good spot, but you got the fuel lines. You can't go over on this side because you've got the exhaust system. That'll bake the air compressor when you're in a regen. That's not an option. Could potentially do on this side. Well, there's a few spots here and maybe there. If you have any suggestions where you think I should mount this, please leave a comment below in the video. I'm really not sure. I don't feel confident in any of these options so far. Thanks for watching. I'm going to bring you some more videos once we decide on where we want to put this.